Well, seeing how it is the 35th anniversary of Pac-Man, figured I'd do a little video in celebration of Pac-Man and his lady friend, Miss Pac-Man. So, this is probably one of the most important parts of my video game collection, what video game collecting I do. But this is a original 1981 Miss Pac-Man arcade machine. As you can tell by the paint, she's had quite a hard life in the arcades over the years. Some people have suggested that I repaint it. I personally am going to leave it like it is. Gives it character, shows its age, it has a history. And with the paint, all this is supposed to be hot pink. And over the years, it's faded out into white. So the backstory on this machine here is I was riding down the road here in town, and this gentleman that ran an auto repair garage, he had several arcade machines inside the store part of the garage, but none of them ever worked, and for whatever reason, he was never really interested in fixing them. So I didn't really think too much about it, I didn't figure he'd want to sell any of them. But then one day I was riding back by there, and I happened to see through the door, the garage door, inside where the cars get worked on. This Pac-Man machine was sitting in there. It was just sitting there. So I stopped by and I asked him, like, well, would you be willing to sell it? And I asked him how much. And he told me $100 and I could have it. I was like, all right. So I just whipped a $100 bill out on the counter. And he's like, well, damn, if you'd have told me that, I'd have asked for more. But anyway, I bought it. And they were painting a car in that garage sometime around the time I bought it. And this is somebody's yellow handprints from yellow paint when they were painting a car. And for the life of me, I can't find anything that'll get that car paint off of there. So, but this thing was in dire need of restoration. It didn't work. The CRT was completely shot. It was burned in from being in an arcade running forever and ever and ever. And the main board, I had to completely rework the main board. It had bad EPROMs. I don't have any equipment to rewrite EPROMs, and it's the burnable kind. And I didn't have the stuff to do that with, so I ended up contacting a guy out in Texas, and I got him to basically reprogram me a new set of EPROMs to put in it. I had to replace the capacitors on it. The original power supply, for those of you who don't know, the original power supplies in these, they were basically two separate transformers. One power supply provided power for the CRT, and the other power supply on the same board provided power for the game board and all that. So I ended up getting a new monitor for it. Quite a chunk of cash for a new monitor. It took me I've had this for about at least 10 or 11 years. And it took me several years to get all the parts together to get it redone, but in the long haul, I'm very happy to have a piece of arcade history. I used to play the crap out of these in the arcade, and I especially love the ones that were Turbo Miss Pac-Man. You'll know when you play it because it'll be really fast compared to regular Miss Pac-Man. But anyway, I had to put a new monitor in it. I had to put a new power supply in it, so I just put a new modern switching power supply in it. Being a 30-some-odd-year-old machine, I mean, it's basically as old as I am. Especially for being in here in home, and it's not used a lot, but I went ahead and put a new wiring harness in it just for safety, because the old wiring harness was in pretty rough-looking shape. It has no back panel. The back panel back here is completely gone. It just deteriorated from old age. Maybe someday I'll get somebody to make me a new back panel for it. Um, it has a free play switch rigged in. Right here, you can tap that, it'll put coins in for you. And then for your friends that you don't like when they come over, you're supposed to be able to put a key in here, but I've never had a key made for that lock. But you can put a key in it and turn it, and it will disable the free play. And then you have to put quarters in it no matter what. So, I had to put new light bulbs in it for the lights up here. I had to redo the ballast up here with a new starter and a new bulb. Like I said, the wiring harness. The speaker's still in perfectly good shape. All these years, and the speaker's still in good shape. I had to take the lock cylinder out of here and take it to a local lock guy. He'd been in the business for many, many years down here. He finally retired a couple years ago. But I got him to make me a new key for it, so I could so you can open it and get into the coin door and all that. This quarter side still works. This side over here doesn't. Something in here is broke, and I can't remember what it is. And I've never, being a home machine, I never really had the urge to want to replace the part that's broken. So, and of course, there's your quarter bay down there. The rubber grommets. Any of you who know anything about these Galaga Miss Pac-Man, there is a rubber grommet in the original joystick that basically recenters the stick every time you use it. And that rubber grommet was worn slap ass out. So I went ahead and ordered a replacement joystick. The original joysticks, they just had little contacts. So when you go left or right or whatever, they would just close like that when you made contact. And they wear out over the years and corrode and all that. So this joystick has got the right ball, the right height, but it uses micro switches, which is far more reliable and it'll last forever basically. So these switches and everything are all still original. So well, let's fire it up and see how it works. Alright, let's go back here and fire a little secret hidden switch. Here's the CRT power up. And there we go. I say the lights and everything's still working it. Took a while to figure out how to rewire the ballast and all that in it, but luckily and thankfully it had the original manual down at the very bottom of the cabinet when I got it, so I had the schematics and the wiring diagrams and all that to rewire it. I say the lights I replaced the lights down here so they work. Thankfully this is one of those that had never had was probably never in a really bad arcade. A lot of them you see these big, huge lock things that go over these because people used to break into them. It does, however, still have the big sticker for the reward deal. Unfortunately, it was never filled out, or if it was, it faded out over time. So this is it with the new EEPROMs and everything. It does still have some issues. The one big issue that it has is right here across the top. You can see these little green dots. What's causing that is some of the memory chips on board. You'll see little blue dots here. Some of the memory chips on board need to be redone. Need to be replaced. And being of the vintage of this machine, I would replace them, but it doesn't really affect me all that much, gameplay wise. And soldering on these old boards is kind of a risky business. You can burn the traces right up off the boards. Well, let's see. And as you can see, when I had the guy send me new proms, I had him send me the Turbo Miss Pac-Man proms. This is how I used to play it in the arcades all the time. Boy, trying to play through the cameras is impossible. course, I have the dip switches on the board set to give me five players. I'm dead. So yeah, it was great when I found this thing and the guy actually allowed me to buy it. It's a piece of my childhood history, that's for sure. And it being almost as old as I am makes it even more more awesome, I guess you could say. So anyway, I thought I'd just do this little video here. 35 years of Pac-Man. Here's to another 35. Hope I'll be playing this thing when I'm in my 60s or 70s or 80s. Oh yeah, and one last thing. I also happen to have the Coleco little collector dealios. I've had this one since I was a little kid. And boy, it's dusty up here, isn't it? And I picked this one up not too long ago. This is original Pac-Man. So they're pretty cool to have. They sit up on top.